Live streaming is on.
Mohammed. Hello, Mohammed. Please, you can start the class.
All right, all right.
Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, Washington. How are you doing today? Yeah, good afternoon. I guess you had the class earlier on this morning, right? Oh, I didn't get that, Washington. I said you had the class, right? At the beginner's class earlier. Okay. I don't know if you can still hear me, but so we could continue with the class. Oh, okay, okay. All right. So yeah, welcome to the Bincom Academy intermediate class. So I believe before now we were you had most likely taken the beginners class. Is that correct? Before this cycle, I don't know. I'm struggling. I'm kind of struggling to hear you. Can I just type out what you're about to say? Oh, Oluwasham. Okay. So yeah, looking at the way things is, you kind of seem familiar already to. You're already familiar with the Python intermediate curriculum, I believe. Yeah, just taking the class again. All right, that's fine. So I guess we wouldn't be doing so much of a repetition when it comes to the class. Basically, we'll just be going through the curriculum just again, just like a refresher for you, so that you might have the time to be able to um, walk through the curriculum properly, right? So, to start with, today we are supposed to briefly talk about the introduction to data science. We're also supposed to talk about um, some of the web scraping tools that are available and how to make use of them. And we'll also be explaining what you're supposed to do for your assignments, basically. So, not just to waste so much of our time, for an introduction to data science, I would always like to start with giving an overview of what the data science life cycle is, because it's very important for us to understand the data science life cycle, so that we would also be able to understand what a data scientist does on a day-to-day um, life working with data. With the understanding of this particular data science life cycle, it will enable you to understand those steps that you need to take when you're implementing a solution, and it will also enable you to take those particular steps when you're trying to also solve a problem, basically. So, before we go on to the data science lifecycle, the question basically is, why are we solving a problem in the first place, and how do we go about solving a particular problem? So, we live in a modern world where technology has been emerging, and as well, we've all seen the advance of technology when it comes to making processes and services easier for people. Unlike in the olden days where we had to do a lot of things traditionally, and which might as well take a lot of human resource to accomplish. We've now seen in recent days that technology has been able to make things a lot easier, and as well saved human resource when it comes to accomplishing tasks. So, yeah, hence the reason why we need to use technology to solve problems. There are a lot of problems out there that we could solve using technology. There are a lot of processes, there are a lot of services out there that still needs a touch of technology in order for them to make life easier for the end user. So, similarly, these problems need to be solved, and the method at which we are solving these problems might differ actually. As a data scientist, you have these particular skills that you might want to use in solving some problems, right? So, as a data scientist, before you'll be able to solve these problems using your data science skills, you'd also want to, most importantly, understand the data science life cycle before moving forward. So, what are these steps that are in the data science lifecycle? One of the steps that are involved in the data science lifecycle is the problem definition, basically, right? So, this is the stage at which we ask ourselves, what is the problem basically at hand, and what is the solution to this particular problem? Most people would also call it problem understanding, because it's that stage at which you critically make research as to this particular problem you're having, and to fully understand what the problem entails, so that you can easily draft out a perfect solution in solving this particular problem. So, what are the examples of problems out there for us to have an idea of? So, say for example, you might want to solve the problem of um, email classification. All right, there are situations where emails come into people's inboxes without proper classification. Sometimes you tend to receive a lot of offensive emails, you tend to receive a lot of unnecessary emails onto your inbox. So, how do it's a problem basically, because um, people are literally spamming you with emails that are not required in your inbox. So how do you? It's a problem. So how do you solve that problem? So solving that problem, requires you to understand, oh, why are people sending you these emails, basically, right? For most times, the reasons are people are trying to spam you, right? People are trying to lure you into an illegal process, right? Basically, so that's reasons why people send you these spammy emails sometimes, right? The other question you need to be asking yourself is, where are these emails coming from, right? Who is sending these emails? What are the intentions of these people sending these emails and all of this, you know? So this is what we call problem understanding. We understood that there was a problem of, spamming individuals with unnecessary emails, and we understood that the problem, had some roots to it. One of which is, we need to determine who is sending this email. We need to make sure that this person sending this email should not be sending emails to us. We also need to understand how to stop these emails from coming in, how to better identify which is the good email and which is the bad email to come in. So this is an example of a problem that we need to solve. And what we just did now is what we call problem understanding. We just understood what the problem is. So that's one step in the data science lifecycle, right? Moving forward, we also have what we call data collection. So what does data collection mean? And so data collection basically is the process at which you collect data, right? You collect data. Why do we need to collect data most times, right? So we have a problem, right? So in order for us to solve that problem, it's most important for us to also understand how that problem has been occurring in the past, right? We need to understand what are the reactions of people when they get spammed in their mailbox. Are they only satisfied about it? Are they not satisfied about it? What are the kind of emails that are considered to be spammy emails, right? What do these emails contain? Do they have excessive numbers of links? Do they have unwanted pictures, pornographic pictures in those emails? What are the attributes of a mail that is spammy, right? So we need to know all of this. And how do we know all of this? We need to look into previous data, right? We need to look at previous emails of people and how they were being spam, or the kind of emails that are being sent to them, and all of those. So that's the reason why we are collecting data. And sometimes the source at which we are getting data could come in different formats, right? So data, traditionally, we might want to source for data from government organizations, right? So traditionally, in the olden days, people would write request letters to government organizations seeking for a particular data, right? For them to make use of, right? But it has become a lot easier these days, where generated data from organization and whatnot are now being uploaded to the internet, and we can now access them, so that people can make use of them for analysis, research, and whatnot. So you, as an individual that is trying to, solve a problem, you can collect data from these sources that are available online. You can collect this data and keep this data. So that's the second step in the data science lifecycle, where you need to collect data, where you also need to, um, store this data basically that you've just collected. So when you understand the problem and you have data already that's relating to the problem, what do you do next? Do you just jump into running analysis for the data, or what do you do next? So the next step is what we call data exploration, right? This is the step at which we need to explore our data. Why are we exploring data? You might receive your data in different formats. They could be in a CSV file. They could also be in an Excel file. The numerous amount of data information that might be in that file can be infinite. right? You might have some data files that have over millions and billions of data information in them. But how do we understand what's inside that file? How do we understand the kind of data that is in it? We need to explore the data, right? Because without exploring the data, you wouldn't be able to have an holistic view of what the data is all about. If you were to be asked, oh, what can you tell me about this particular data, right? You can confidently tell anybody that in this data file we have information about previous individuals that have made conversation with a particular company, and we're also seeing that the kind of mails they receive from this particular company are majorly spammy um, emails, right? And they contain XYZ and all of those. That is you explaining what the data is all about. But before you'll be able to explain what the data is all about, you need to explore it first, right? And as a data scientist, you also have different tools that enables you to be able to explore data, right? One of which is using Python, and in Python, there's a particular package called Pandas. This particular package called Pandas enables you to explore and manipulate data the way you like, right? You might want to check some particular rows in a data file. You might want to check some particular columns in a data file. You might want to remove out some columns in a data file. You might want to insert values in a data file, right? All of these different processes I just mentioned can be achieved using pandas. And what you are doing basically in general can be called data exploration. So you need to explore your data, you need to understand it, right? So you understand the problem, you collect data, then you explore the data. So after exploring the data, what do you do next, right? What you do next is you analyze the data, right? And one way of analyzing data is performing explanatory data analysis, right? We call it EDA, right? So this explanatory data analysis is a process at which you make use of some statistical techniques in order for you to derive insights from a data, right? So you have your data all explored, but you want to derive insight from your data. Oh, in this data of mine, how what are the number of emails that looks alike, right? How many number of people have complained about spammy emails? How many times in a month do we have spammy emails, right? What are the attributes of the spammy emails, right? And all of those. This is you deriving insights from the data, right? So with some statistical techniques, you can get all of this information, right? And when you perform the statistical techniques, it gives you even further information about the data you're working on. So that's what we call explanatory data analysis. And in Python, there are different tools that enables you to perform statistical techniques, right? And these tools, you know, we have pandas as well, numpys, and sci-fi, right? They can get a lot complex, even in situations where you need to handle data that has to do with complex mathematics and scientific computation. You can make use of NumPy and SciFi in that situation. So moving forward, the next step that we have is what we call data visualization, right? So data visualization simply means the ability for you to be able to visualize all of the insights that you've derived from your explanatory data analysis. So remember, you performed an explanatory data analysis. You derived insights from it, right? Maybe the number of people that received spammy emails, the number of people that complained about spammy emails, the features of a spammy email. All of these could be classified as insights that you derive from the data. But how does the end user understand what you've derived? Or in situations when you're working in an organization, how do you communicate to your organizational head or your CEO or your marketing team that these are the insights that you've derived from the data, right? You can only communicate those things, conveniently in a visual format. So Python now provides a tool for you to be able to visualize data, right? And some of these tools we have Matplotlib, we have Seaborn, we have Plotty Dash that enables you to create dashboards and all of this. So you can actually translate all of your insights into beautiful and colorful visualization. You can put them in pie charts, you can put them in histograms, you can put them in maps, you can put them onto a dashboard and whatnot. Conveniently, with this visualization, you'll be able to communicate with anybody about the insights that you've derived from the data. So, just to reiterate, you had a time when you understood the problem, right? You also had a time when you collected data. You also had the time when you explored the data. And you also had the time where you performed explanatory data analysis to a data. And here we are visualizing this data. So once you are done visualizing this data, as a data analyst, your job is done, right? You've been able to perform analysis on your data and you'll be able to visualize it and communicate the insights to an organization. And the organization can take up your insights, and which might improve or which might enable them, to make better decisions that might, result to good outcomes for their organization, basically. But in data science, we can even go a step further to building machine learning models. And what are these machine learning models? In essence, this is the ability for you to use those same data that you've analyzed. You can give it to a machine to learn from, right? You can say, oh, machine, take this data that I have and I have analyzed, learn from this data, right? So that in the future, when you see a new data coming in, right, you can predict, you know, something about it. So for example, just like I made example of the data we are making use of. So I made mention of emails, right? So the data you have is like of different emails, different people that have been spammed and stuff like that. So when you train your machine and you tell the machine that, oh, take data, these are examples of data that, or these are examples of email data that are spam, and these are also examples of emails that are normal emails. So learn from this data, know the attributes that makes a mail spammy. Also know the attributes that makes a mail a good one, right? So that in the future, whenever you see a new email coming in, right, you can determine if this email that is coming in has some attributes of a normal email or has some attributes of a spammy email, right? So these in machine learning we call this classification problems, right? And these classification problems is under supervised machine learning category. We'll get onto that, but for now, the essence is that as a data scientist, your job doesn't necessarily stop at visualizing data. You can also go further and predicting data, basically, right? So yeah, that's basically what the life cycle of a data scientist entails. Those are the step-by-step processes you'll be taking while you are working as a data scientist. So this also correlates to what we'll be learning in this curriculum. Basically, we are going to be learning, data collection. We are also going to be learning exploration. We are also going to be learning um, machine learning. We are also going to be learning data visualization and all of those. Right. So I don't know if you have any question basically. Oluwaseun, do you have any question for now? We move forward. Yeah. You can kindly type that. I don't know, I'm not hearing you properly, sorry. All right. So moving forward, we're supposed to talk about web scraping. We're supposed to introduce ourselves onto web scraping. Right. So kindly just give me a minute. Yeah, can you hear me, Oluwaseun?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
So
Oh,
yeah, moving,
Babu!
we're supposed to talk about web scraping, right? So
Yes,
web
sir.
scraping, it's a way at which we collect data, right? Sorry, I didn't mention. When you are collecting data, I made mention of the traditional way we get data, and I also told you about modern ways of getting data where you can go on to some data collection sites and you can get easily download data of any type there, right? Another way of collecting data is by scraping the web. Sometimes you might not find the necessary data you are looking for, or you'd want a situation where you'll be able to scrape data from a particular website, right? Say, for example, you want data from Wikipedia, right? Or data from a particular page on Wikipedia. So, how do you do so? Well, interesting enough, data science now provides you with a tool that enables you to be able to scrape Wikipedia and get information from Wikipedia. So, you can literally scrape most websites out there, right? You can scrape Wikipedia, you can scrape some other websites for you to get information. However, in some situations, there are some websites that don't allow or don't that doesn't give you the ability to be able to scrape data from their site, right? You can scrape data from their site, but you might be limited to the kind of data you'll be allowed to scrape. In such situations where you will not be able to scrape a lot of data, or you might be limited to the kind of data you are going to be scraping, Python also provides you with another tool, in getting that data. It's called APIs, right? You can make use of the APIs. Most web solutions now have an API, right? You can request an API and make use of their data. For example, just like Twitter, you have information about people, sensitive information about other people, but you might want to create something that you might be needing data from Twitter so that you'll be able to, create that thing perfectly, right? How do you do so? You make use of API because Twitter is providing an API for you to use. For example, Facebook as well. Facebook is providing API for you to use. Instagram is providing you API for you to use, and all of those, which makes it very interesting because with those APIs, you'll be able to collect data from Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and whatnot confidently and authorized. So Twitter is aware that you're getting data from them. Instagram is aware that you're getting data from them, and all of this. So what are these APIs, right? So APIs are more like, say for example, when you go to a restaurant, right? You have the chefs in the restaurant. You have the kitchen, right, where the chefs makes the meal for you. But somebody that comes onto a restaurant to have a meal, you might not necessarily have to go and interact with the chef directly for he or she to prepare your meal. We have people that you can send that errand and they will do so for you. You have the waiters. So you just place your order, the waiter will pick your order and take it to the kitchen where the chefs are. The chef will prepare your meal and serve your meal. Then the waiter will pick up your meal and bring it back to you, right? You don't need to talk to the kitchen directly. So in this situation, right, or this scenario I just orchestrated, Twitter, for example, is your chef or your kitchen, right? Where there's a lot of data there, but you want the data. But you don't necessarily have to talk to Twitter directly, right? You can talk to a waiter, and the waiter will help you go to Twitter, get the data for you, and bring it for you. Who is this waiter? This waiter is what we call the API, right? Is the one that's helping you run the errand, is the one that's helping you go to Facebook, go to Instagram or Twitter or Wikipedia to help you get data and bring it back for you. So that's basically what an API is, right? So I've mentioned like three ways that you can collect data. You can collect data from online sources, right, where people host data. You can also collect data by scraping data. You can also collect data by the use of APIs. But in this situation, I'll be, explaining to you, what are the tools that you might be able to use to scrape data. So we have, for this particular curriculum, we were supposed to get familiar with mechanical soup. So mechanical soup is a package in Python that enables you to be able to scrape data. But there are other more interesting scraping tools out there. We have Scrapy, we have Beautiful Soup, right? but for this particular curriculum, you're supposed to make use of mechanical soup. So I'm going to be sending you some resources on the Slack channel that will enable you to get started with scraping data with mechanical soup. You can also further go ahead personally to make use of beautiful soup as well and compare the method of scraping data, which of them is easier and which of them, and just to note the difference between the both processes, right? So that's that about web scraping, right? But now we also have some other advanced way of web scraping, right? It's called automation, right? Automation scripting. What does that mean, right? So there's a tool Python is providing called Selenium, and this Selenium enables you to perform web automation. What do we mean by web automation? So usually when you want to go to Facebook, for example, right, you have to click on your web browser, which it might be Chrome or Firefox, right? When you open your Chrome or Firefox, you type in www.facebook.com, right? It takes you to Facebook. And before you are able to view the news feed on Facebook, you might need to sign in or you might need to sign up, right? So in your case, you might need to sign in. And when you are signing in, you type in your name, you type in your username, you type in your email and whatnot, and you click on the sign in button, and voila, you now have Facebook running, right? So all of these things I just mentioned is a process, right? From the process of clicking your Chrome or your Firefox to the process of typing www.facebook to the process of typing in your username and your password to the process of actually going on to Facebook. So what if I tell you that all these processes that we just mentioned, you can skip all of these processes and allow a machine to do it for you, right? You don't necessarily have to do all of the clicking. All you need to do is just write simple small Python script, and the moment you just run that script, it will help you do all of those things. So it saves you time from going to click, going to Facebook, typing your username and all of those, right? And how do we achieve this? We achieve this using Selenium basically. So Selenium is a web um, automation tool that helps you to automate the web, right? Basically. So that's Selenium for you. So yes, Selenium is another way of scraping data. So once you all of these things, Selenium helps you go to Facebook. Selenium can help you scrape that Facebook, scrape information from Facebook and bring it back to you. So that's another way of scraping data. So in this particular course, they would want you to be able to make use of mechanical soup to scrape data. They would also want you to be able to do some web automation using Selenium to scrape data, right? And all of those. So yeah, those are basically the things that we need to introduce ourselves to for this particular first contact session. And yeah, we then undo some understanding as to what you are supposed to do for the assignment. Then we can meet in the next contact session for the other topic we're supposed to discuss about. So I don't know, do you have any question for now, or are you okay with all of this? All right. So, I don't know. Do you have access to the assignment for this particular contact session? I guess it should be on your LMS. All right. So you can try logging on to the LMS. I'm sure Miss Amen will be able to walk you through on how to set up the LMS basically. But on your LMS, you will have access to the current course you are taking, and as well some detailed information as to the different topics that we are going to be covering at every contact session. And as well, you will then be seeing your assignment there. It will also enable you to be able to submit your assignment on the platform basically. So for this particular contact session, I'm going to be sending the assignment to the Slack channel. um, it's for you basically to be able to scrape some sites. So the first one, you are supposed to go to a website called quotes books to scrape rather, right? So book to scrape is a website that has information about several books. It has meta information about the author of this particular book, the production year, what genre does this book belongs to, and a description of the book basically. So we have thousands and thousands of books on this website. So what they want you to do basically is to make use of Selenium or Mechanical Soup to go onto that website and scrape information about 10 to 15 books basically. So that's what they expect you to do. I know this might seem a lot, but I would share some resources on how to get started with Selenium. And once you get your hands on Selenium, you will then understand how to solve that assignment basically. Then the next one is for you to go to Code to Scrape. So Code to Scrape is also a website that has a lot of quotes by different authors, right? So different scientists, different philosophers, different, financial experts, and all of those dropping different quotes. So these quotes, we have a lot of them. So they also want you to scrape this particular website and scrape like 10 to 15 distinct quotes from different authors, basically. So, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do for this contact session assignment. And I'm going to also be sharing some resources. Just like I said, I'll share resources on how to get started with Mechanical Soup, how to get started with Selenium, so that you'll be able to attempt the assignment, basically. So I don't know, do you have any questions regarding this? All right, so I think with that we should be all right. I will send those. I'll send those on Russia. I guess you're on the the Slack channel right now. I'll send them. So I think with that, all right. With that, we are sufficient for today. And yeah, I would be meeting you in the next contact session. Miss Amen, good afternoon. Can you hear us? You're welcome, Oluwasha.
Hello,
The
Mohammed. You
quality
need
is
my
good,
attention.
you understand. So they have high
What do you
quality
need?
on this side, and that's very, very good
Hello,
for you
Mohammed.
to
What do you
work.
need?
And again, you have
Go ahead.
license to use it because when you use all those sites, you have license.
Hello, Mohammed. What do
Because
you
now
need?
you are trying to
I
download
said
the image
you're done
from
with
a
today's
free
class.
thing. You know, it's free, so
Huh?
it's free for
Hmm.
you to use.
You're done
But when
with
you're trying to download